today on BKRsport, we are going to be starting up a new series on the channel called How I Became. I get a lot of questions from you guys all the time in regards to who I support, why I support them, and obviously I support a lot more teams than just where I'm from, my hometown of the Gold Coast in Australia. I literally watch pretty much every sport, major sport around the world, and I have a team in pretty much all of them. There are some that are weaker, I guess, than others, and there are some that are very strong, but yeah, look, I thought that I'd start a series up every single Monday here, where I'm going to go through all the different teams that I support and explain to you why I actually became a fan, because there is a reason behind every single one. I'm not the type of guy that will just support a club because I just want to. Like, I have to have a reason behind it. This video series is literally just going to be me talking about how I fell in love with the teams that I have, you know, just simple as that, because I have fell in love with the teams that I have. There's a reason why I watch sport every single day, every single hour. The baseball finishes, then we get basketball and the NFL, you know, when the NRL finishes, then we get football. Like, it's 24/7 for me. There is no off season for me. But today, guys, to open it all up, I will be talking about the Chicago Cubbies. Yes, my Chicago Cubs in the Major League Baseball. I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time because a lot of people always say, like, why would you become, why the Cubs? You know, they're named the lovable losers for a reason. They've got a long and unsuccessful history. Besides 2016, they've got a long and unsuccessful history. So why a man from the Gold Coast, Australia, would you be going for a team in Chicago? But before we get into this, guys, obviously, if you love your sport, go and hit that subscribe button, and let's get into the video. In Australia, we don't really have a great deal of love for baseball because obviously cricket is very similar in the, I guess, literal sense of you have to hit the ball as far as you possibly can and knock it out. That's the essence of cricket, and that's also the essence of baseball. It's the exact same thing in that sense, but it's so different and polar different. Growing up in Australia, there was no real care factor for baseball for me. It wasn't even a factor. I had the NBA there that I didn't mind, you know, the NFL there that was relatively similar to rugby in a sense. NHL, we'll get into that one in a different video, but that was also very similar to the baseball in the sense that we're not cold down here. We don't really have any ice. Well, we have some places in snow and some places like Victoria and other places down south, but like, it's not really a factor for us. We never really have been into hockey or ice hockey that we call it, but hockey for you guys, because that's just normally it. But we do have also hockey on a normal field. So that should provide some context to the fact that I just didn't simply have a team growing up because there's no care factor for it. Now, with all this being said, back in 2016, I did know, well, actually probably from about 2010 onwards, I did know about the Chicago Cubs without caring. I had this understanding that they were the team with the longest drought in sport, and it was always quite interesting to me. Like, I didn't watch any of their games. I couldn't even name you a single player at the time. You know, I wouldn't have had any care factor for it in the slightest, besides the fact they were similar to the Cronulla Sharks, who at the time were like 50 years without anything, or the Western Bulldogs, and funnily enough, they all ended up breaking their drought in 2016 as well. But I knew about the Chicago Cubs, and in 2016, I was actually in Fiji, and when the World Series was happening, and I was kind of watching it, but not watching it just because I was like, wow, this team might actually do it this time. And throughout that World Series, I was like, you know, I kind of want the Chicago Cubs to win here. Even though Cleveland had their own drought as well, but I kind of want the Cubs to win here. So it's funny how, even though I didn't become a supporter of the Cubs until 2019, or an actual supporter until 2019, it's funny that I still had some form of connection going back probably 10 or 11 years before today. So back in around 2010, 2011, I started to really notice them. Now, as you just heard, I did say that in 2019 was when I became a Cubs fan. Now, this is actually for not kind of any reason besides, I guess, lucking out. I guess I would say I lucked out with it. Now, in 2018, I decided that I wanted to go to Chicago. 2018, I said, you know what? I want to go to a big city. I had my YouTube for a couple of years, and I wanted to go have some fun and go to a big-time city. And, you know, there's the Chicago Bulls there with Michael Jordan from the 90s, and I guess even the Blackhawks did tempt me a little bit because they had such a successful history, and I was like, you know what? It's the United Center. The United Center is very historically successful, right? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go there. I'm going to do some vlogs, as you guys would have seen. I would have done some vlogs there at the Bulls and the Blackhawks. Come on, Zach! Come on, Zach! Yeah! Basically going to Chicago in the NFL offseason to have a good time, experience a new culture, watch some sport, and just simply living up in a big city that wasn't your typical LA or New York or San Francisco, which is what Australians usually go to. For me, I actually have already been to New York when I was younger and LA quite a few times now, and I thought I kind of just want to go and see this new city. I want to experience this new city. And I did have actually some friends who lived there who I did stay with. I thought, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go watch the Bulls. I'm going to watch the Blackhawks. And, you know, there's a bit of baseball there. We might check it out. We'll see how we go. Maybe go and have a crack at a game. You know, we'll have a watch. But realistically, the main focus of me going there was to have fun and vlog Bulls games predominantly, even though they're not that great at the time especially, and also Blackhawks to an extent. On my trip over, I actually went through Las Vegas. We did the sevens there. Fantastic time. Had a great time there in Las Vegas. Was only there for a couple of days though. When I got to Chicago, it was so cold. So I was there in, I think it was March. Oh no, it was February I think I left. I think I went around the end of February, beginning of March was when I got to America, and especially Chicago, where I went from Las Vegas, that was not cold. It was not cold, to it was actually really hot during the days there, to Chicago, and as I got there, I don't know if it was a blizzard or if it was just a normal Chicago bloody evening there in the early days of March, but holy wowzers. Like, I've never experienced that cold. The wind and just, I think it was minus 15. This is in Celsius, by the way, guys. I don't speak in Fahrenheit, but in minus 15 or something like that, which is ridiculously cold. And I was prepared, but I also wasn't kind of prepared for the pain on the face. It was painful. With that, I was there with some friends for about 3 months, which was what I was planning to do. And I did stay there actually for the entire 3-month duration. But they picked me up, and funnily enough, one of them is a White Sox fan, and one of them was a Cubs fan. But it came to baseball season, and the Cubs weren't actually in town when the baseball season started up. It was actually the Chicago White Sox. Now, I was staying about an hour south of Chicago, past like the south side area. It's closer to Indiana than what you would classify the south side of Chicago. I was staying quite a bit south of Chicago, and my friend said, you know what, I'm going to take you to a White Sox game on opening day. So the first game I went to was Chicago White Sox, Seattle Mariners. Now, I think the final score ended up 10-8, but look, it was a great experience. It definitely was. And after the experience, I actually thought that I was going to become a White Sox fan because I didn't know anything better, right? I went to the baseball. I walked out onto the, I was on the second tier, the top tier area, and I would walk out, and it's just incredible. When you look at a baseball field for the first time, or just when you go and open yourself up to baseball fields, it is just an incredible experience, man. It really is, and I never expected it. Like I said, I didn't expect that I would fall in love with the sport. I just didn't. I didn't think that I would care. I thought it was just going to be another long game that I just didn't really give too much of a shit about, to be honest with you. But you walk out there and you're just like, wow. Like, it's just an experience and a half of just looking at the field simply. Great game. White Sox nearly hit a grand slam in that game. They had a lot of positives going forward, and that was my first experience. So I was thinking that I could have become a White Sox fan. But there's a difference between thinking and knowing. If you think you're going to become a fan, it means that you haven't actually been latched on yet. You're not confident in yourself yet. You're like, okay, well, I didn't mind it. It was great. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And I definitely would have become a baseball fan regardless. But it didn't, I guess it hit the spot at the time. But I still at the time knew that it didn't hit the spot necessarily. Because there just wasn't the same feeling as what happened when I went to Wrigley, which is about 2 weeks later. Now, I went to about 3 or 4 different White Sox games before the Cubs were in town. Now, the first game, the opening day of the season, very expensive ticket, $160 American, something like that. It was a beautiful day in Chicago, though. Opening day, will never forget this day for the rest of my life. Honestly, the best experience I've ever had as a sporting experience, right? I went by myself. It was a long way for me to travel. I got all the way up there to Wrigleyville, and the vlog is there for you guys to go and check it out, but it was the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Cubs actually ended up winning 10-0 that day. Ride with me, even if I make mistakes. I need somebody to hold me down, not somebody that I can't replace. Ride with me. Life was really made for two. I'll be there when you need me near. You should know I'll be there for you. Realize. I'ma be right, yeah. Realize. I'ma be right, yeah. Realize. I'ma be right, yeah. Realize. I'ma be right here. Yeah. It was just looking at the stadium from the outside of Wrigley. You could see the culture, you could see the history, you could just feel the overall sense of what's been seen here. You know, there's been a lot of things, especially with baseball, which is 162 games a season, so different to what we have in Australia, where we have 26 games a season or 25, or, you know, not a great deal of games, right? But baseball, it's 162 games every single year, right? So you could just see the amount. I guess I could feel the hurt over the 100 years where they had 108 years. I could feel the excitement of what they've experienced too. You know, I just knew it encapsulated everything about why people love this sport and why people love this team just from the outside. So, you know, I did a bit of an intro where the Harry Carey statue is. I obviously knew nothing about Harry Carey at the time.
I'm finding out the truth hurts. Real talk, you know it's worth it. Weird type of feeling, in fact, it ain't perfect.
So today on BKRsport, we are here at Wrigley Field in Chicago, Illinois for the start of something special.
But you go in and you can see all the architecture and the way that it still really hasn't changed a significant deal because it's still very cultural, right? So anyway, you're walking up there and obviously you can't see a great deal. You're just walking up that big, like, slopey area, I guess. A little bit of a snake to get up there as you walk in. We're not used to, in Australia, taking all of our belongings out and putting it through and then having to go through a metal detector. That was an interesting experience. We did that at basketball too, but still, it's just funny that you have to take everything out and then go through. But I understand why. Don't get me wrong. I understand why. But you walk up, and you still can't really see Wrigley as you walk out of the opening. If you go to the left-hand side, if you turn left at the bleachers. This is the bleachers, sorry, by the way. I did go to the bleachers. The bleachers is my favourite place by far. I sat all over the place. Bleachers is my favourite place by far. But I'm walking out there at the bleachers, and I go left instead of going right. And this is facing away from Wrigley Field as you're coming up. I turn left and you can't really see the field just yet. If you go right, you pretty much see the field straight away. But I went left, right hand side, I'm walking down obviously left field, and I turn in. And as you go down, it's just like a big green, because obviously Wrigley Field is very green, right? So, and the walls are very green. You're walking down, you just see this bright, glistening field. Beautiful green field, just shining back at you. And because you're in this really narrow, out hallway to get out to the bleacher seats, it just goes, and your eyes light up. My eyes lit up, and from that moment, I already knew before the game had started that the Cubs were my team. I already knew, and that's the difference. I'd watched 4 or 5 White Sox games at Guaranteed Rate Field, you know, good experience, but I thought I was going to become a White Sox fan. I didn't even see the Cubs play yet. I already thought I was their rivals, and it just went bang. And I fell in love immediately. Not to mention the fact that then I couldn't get a seat because I was actually there, I think, 10 minutes before the game started. It was beautiful. Sun was shining. Perfect weather. It was like 10, 15, I was probably about 15, 16 degrees Celsius, which is a nice, relatively warm day, I guess, especially in Chicago at that time. And it was just unbelievable. It was packed out, sold out, Pittsburgh Pirates, opening day, and I couldn't get a seat. So I had to wait there. I don't know if you can see this in the vlog, actually.
Tell you what, though, if you don't get me early enough, you don't get a seat. I tell you what, it is packed through the really bleachers. There is literally not a single seat in the bleachers right now. I can't see a single seat available over in the other section too. The thing with this stadium is that it's literally separated, right? The bleachers are separated from the ticketing. So you can't actually legitimately get over there. On both sides are completely sold.
I had to wait there for me to be ushered in to find a seat, and I actually ended up at the scoreboard where the you know, there's a bar up the top of Wrigley Field where the scoreboard is. At the back, it's literally right at the top. I actually filmed a lot of my intros at this bar at the top of my vlogs, right? But yeah, I sat there and it was a beautiful viewing. I guess that's the best place I feel like it would be to see your first game in the bleachers up the top back area. Then you can move left, right field. You can go where if you want to go into the main stands and stuff like that. That's great, that's fine. But I think the atmosphere in the bleachers was just incredible. It was just, you know, I honestly want to live at Wrigley Field. I do. I go to sport games everywhere. I want to live at Wrigley Field.
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to have that Wrigley Field bucket list experience that everyone talks about that knows about baseball. They want to go there, right? But I'm sitting up there, I'm talking to this, you know, probably someone local from Chicago. I'm not too sure if he traveled there or not, but he was a great guy. He was a great guy, you know, welcoming. Obviously, if you have an Australian accent, people want to talk to you immediately, you know. So I was sitting next to him, we're just having a great conversation, talking about buddy baseball, having a good time. And you know, I didn't even need to drink beer. I don't usually drink when I go to games. I have like a Coke Zero or something like that. I don't really drink beer because I don't want to get drunk. I've done that before with Manchester City down in Melbourne, but that was my first ever vlog. I don't usually do that now. I just have a normal time without alcohol. I understand people who's not vlogging and drinking, because I probably would if I wasn't vlogging, right? But they ended up winning 10-0. Mahabi Byers hitting a 2-run, I think, single, where the ball hit the dirt and he still found a way to get it over the top into shallow left center field, I think it was. I remember John Lester getting a couple of runs there as well with a hit. And it was just, I can't explain to you how grateful I am for having that Cubs experience. And from there, I went to pretty much every game at Wrigley Field. You know, I've seen a grand slam for the Cubs against the Cardinals in the sweep as well in that series. We swept the Cardinals out. That was awesome. Grand slam there by, was it Chris Bryant or Albert Amora Jr.? I've seen 2 grand slams at Wrigley. I think that one was Chris Bryant though. I think that was Chris Bryant with that grand slam there. But you know, I've seen a walk-off by Chris Bryant as well, but that was when I was sitting over there in the right field, down on the first tier as well, at the actual right field line, at first base as well. You know, I've seen quite a lot there, but I've also seen a lot of losses. I saw a lot of losses that year too. I remember, I think it was 7 or 8-0 loss to Milwaukee Brewers too, which that was a tough one. And I've also had the worst cold experience of my life at Wrigley, sitting out there. I think it was against maybe the Diamondbacks, Arizona Diamondbacks, out there at first baseline, and that was freezing. It was freezing. We won the game, but holy shit, I couldn't have told you really too much about that game because I was just trying not to. If I'm from Australia, right? If I'm from Australia, and I find that I'm still sitting there, and yet all the Chicago locals have gone home, there's a problem. there's a major problem here. It finishes me up for the Chicago Cubs story and how I became a Cubbies fan, you know, as a local from the Gold Coast in Australia. There is also a Gold Coast in north side of Chicago as well, which is pretty funny. But yeah, look, I love this team. I fell in love with the team. I don't care how bad they are. I'll still support them. It's not about supporting a team to win. It's about supporting a team because you're proud of where they're from and where they represent. And I'm proud of Chicago. I love that city. It is unbelievable, Chicago. I just appreciate everything that the Cubs have done for me, I guess, as a person. It really did change me, that experience, and made me truly appreciate the sport of baseball. And it honestly is a top 3 sport for me. I'm going to jump off for now. I do appreciate you as always. Every Monday, this series will come out with the new team. So this week is Chicago Cubs. Next week's actually going to be the Gold Coast Titans. Next week's going to be the Gold Coast Titans to let you guys know how I became a supporter of the Gold Coast Titans. And from there, obviously, we'll just be going through the line. But I do hope you have enjoyed, guys. Let me know who your baseball team is below. Let me know if you have found that love for the sport just yet in Australia. If you are from the USA, let us know in the comment section below when your first experience was with whoever team you support, when your first experience of going to the game was. If you haven't subscribed yet, guys, hit that subscribe button. This is the place to be for all you sport. I love it. Every single sport we get around it. So hit that subscribe button, smash the thumbs up button. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.